The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Connor, and I'm Preschool Program Specialist with the Early Learning Division. I want to welcome you to our monthly webinar with Head Start directors. And we have an exciting lineup for you today. We've got lots to talk about, lots to learn about together. I'll let some of my co-organizers introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Good morning, this is Gwen Bachtel.
Good morning, this is Teresa Waite.
And I think that Lindsey's also on the line, but maybe working up to it. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show some slides, and Gwen's going to talk. How's that?
Access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
I'll mute everyone here except for Gwen. And
You could be on camera, is that?
if you can, sure. And then and we'll get started. Okay. Let's see. I just have to show my screen. Teresa, it says you're the organizer, but I want to be the organizer, so maybe you can give me the screen. Let's see. I can
Unmuted.
make me. Yes.
I was going to say, you're an organizer too.
Yeah, exactly. And
And let's see if I can get my webcam going.
there.
No, why not? Do you see where I can get my camera going? Oh, after you.
One sec here. Okay. Great. And then where it says webinars, click on that. Where it says webinars.
Webinar.
I mean webcam. Sorry.
Okay. I wasn't getting it, so shoot.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For some reason, it doesn't seem to be.
Oh yeah, great. Don't know.
Okay,
Mystery.
so sorry, for some reason I'm not getting the option for you to see me all this morning. I'm sitting right next to Michael. Maybe I should lean into your camera, Michael.
Gwen, I think it's because you're signed in as a regular attendee.
Okay.
Got it. Well, I do feel kind of like a regular attendee today, so because I will be regularly attending. So, all right, well, I'm sorry about that. All right, so I think we wanted to get started with giving you an update on the expansion progress and how we've been organizing our work here at the Early Learning Division to ensure that funds are available and out the door for you July 1st. So we're following sort of a six-step process to get us kind of through this first phase of planning and implementation, and it includes a statute review, rule revisions, thank you, budget development, the RFA being created, all the guidance documents that would be needed and necessary to go along with the RFA and the program, and then also our communication stakeholder engagement plan. And so the team has been very busy. Kudos to all of them. A shout out. We've completed the statute review, and our rule revisions have been sent to DOJ, and we're waiting for some feedback, and we're also formatting them in a way now so that we can actually give you sort of an exclusive review of those prior to them being open to public comment. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then also we have developed our budget that includes all of the new investments from the Student Success Act and also our existing general funds for OPK. And it was, I think everyone's going to be really pleased with the enhancements that are available for salaries, transportation, and also the ability for us to also offer some startup costs that we know is necessary, and that there's been some questions about that from some of you. So we're really pleased that we have enough resources to, I think, really have a successful expansion with all of you feeling well-resourced in it. And then we are in the process of our developing our request for application. It has been created, but it's in review process now with Sarah and Miriam, and then we're expecting feedback from that today, actually, and so that we will continue to kind of work through the revision process and then send it over to DOJ for review next week, next Friday, so that we can have a release date of the application in January. So we're all on target with those timelines, but it's been a bit fast and furious here. And then also the team has been working on developing guidance documents for all of you, that something that we've sort of had in different pieces or places attached to your grant agreements, but that we're really trying to create sort of like a manual or operating guidelines that'll help you and also help us implement the program and sustain quality programming. And then we're also, that draft is in development for the guidance document. And then we also have our communication and stakeholder engagement plan that Lindsey has sort of been the keeper on, but it's included all of us, and that's in progress. Many of you have already participated in some of our engagement activities to provide feedback on implementation and expansion. So we thank you for that, and we will continue with our stakeholder engagement plan moving forward. The one piece of communication, though, that I want to kind of just take a moment on, and I'll turn it over to Michael, is around our FAQ. So, Michael,
right. So on the ELD website, and also attached to this webinar, so if you, when you register for this webinar, there's a link, and if you look at that webinar on the GoToWebinar site, there are handouts. And so I've uploaded the FAQ there. And at the bottom of the FAQ, there's a link to submit questions for the FAQ. So we've tried to answer like clarifying questions for people. You know, you send me an email and you say, what do you mean by salary enhancements? And we'll talk about it a little bit and refer you to the legislation and like that. But we're also trying to make sure that everybody has the same information at the same time. So we keep referring people back to the FAQ because that's where we've taken in questions and respond to them as best we can, knowing what we know. So if you've got questions, first of all, you can type them in the question box and we'll either address them or tell you to send in a question to the FAQ, or show you in the FAQ where it is that we've answered that already. So we're not trying to answer your questions, we're just trying to make sure everybody has the same information at the same time. So again, that's in the OPK portal, not in the portal, in the OPK description box before you get to the portal on the ELD website. You can find the FAQ. It's also attached to this webinar if you want to look at it there. But now might be a good time for questions about this expansion, enhancement progress, the process that we're going through. We've got time with Gwen now, and so that's feel free to post your questions now if you've got some.
And while we're waiting for it, it looks like there is something in the chat box. I'm unable to get to it. Just to add to what Michael said about the FAQ, it was decided on Monday that it sort of was difficult to track if you're a reader of the FAQ, what's been changed and what's new. So we will be, you'll see in, I think it'll be by this Friday's uploading of the FAQ new questions and revised. We will be dating when the revisions or a question has been added, so that you will more quickly be able to kind of scroll through and look for any revised responses or any new questions and answers that have been added. And you know, we're trying to be as transparent and providing as much information as possible as quickly as we can, but I apologize for the necessity for revisions sometimes, and that has to do with, we think we're on the right path, we've got a great idea, and then maybe DOJ tells us, nope, that actually you have to adjust something, or that doesn't fit this or that. So it's usually us trying to be as responsive as possible, but also there's a lot of other people who provide us with input on how we implement our expansion.
Kim, did you want to say your question? I unmuted you.
I was just wondering if, there will be funds to do some minor renovations as well as startup funds to, we typically will find some facilities, but they are not suited for quality childcare because they might not have a bathroom or something. And so will we have additional funds to make the classroom suitable for children?
Yes, but there's limited funds. So, we'll all have to figure out, right, it's not like we have a bottomless, amount of money for that. But what our goal is with our startup funds is that there are funds available not only for like new classroom setups, but also that there are funds available for grantees to make the necessary remediations to property to make sure that they are meeting health and safety standards and also age appropriate. So yes, Kim, there will be funds for that. But there are no funds for capital expenditures. So there's we have to toe that line. So.
Great question. Thank you, Kim. Other questions, comments? It's all very exciting around here, I can tell you. Exciting is a little bit of a euphemism, but mostly exciting. Other questions? How about playground equipment, says Kim?
Yes, we would consider that as part of the necessary equipment to serve the children. Yeah, that would be anything that's developmentally appropriate and age appropriate. And I know that some of you will, sometimes that means yes.
And Kim says,
yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. And I know that's been a question for you for a while, and we kind of had to wait till the budget was all developed for us to see how much we really did have and what we were able to offer. So I'm really glad that we've been able to figure that out.
Other thoughts, questions? Okay, that's great. You can, if something comes to you in the next few minutes, feel free to type it into the question box and we'll make sure we address it. Oh, Marcy's got her hand up. Marcy, what'd you have to say, partner?
We're, two things going on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just trying to write it, and I'll let Annie say it.
Annie?
Hi, we were trying to write it. What's it doing here? It's just giving you feedback.
It's like a club at Vegas, that kind of feedback. Annie, you there, partner? Oh, they muted themselves. Well, we definitely want to hear from you. However, not hearing you, I think we'll let you write it and we'll circle back to that, all right? Okay, thank you. So there's that.
What? So wait.
Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. Go ahead.
Michael's skipping ahead.
No.
So this was a slide. You've already seen this. Miriam and I presented this slide to you when we were out at Redmond and Eagle Crest, but there was a part of it that was still to be determined, and that was about the rules schedule. And so I wanted to give you an update on that. So, and just kind of let you know that we are on track with all of these timelines. And so, Michael, the next slide gives the timelines for the rules, because that was the only thing we didn't have last time. Great. So our rule adoption timeline, there are 4 sets of rules that the ELD is currently working on, and that is for Oregon pre-kindergarten, and it's really about rule revisions to make sure that this is a prenatal through 5-year-old program. So we're very excited, as I'm sure all of you are. So we have that set of rules. We have preschool promise rule set, and then there's rules necessary around the criminal background registry and also the new equity fund. So those are the 4 sets that we're working on right now. This is just our first push of rules. We recognize that there are other rules that will need to be either developed or revised based on the legislation that came out of session, but these are the ones that are critical for implementation of services and making sure that the Student Success Act funds are available and ready to go for you. So we just kind of focused on this, and it's been a little bit challenging because, as you also might know, we have a new configuration of our Early Learning Council. They've just gone through a retreat in the last month, but they had the kind of their first meeting, but but their second meeting, they only meet quarterly now, so it's a little more challenging for us to have policies or like rules that need to go through the ELC adopted according to their schedule. So we had to be pretty strategic about which ones we needed them to approve at their January meeting. So, but this is a timeline. So by the end of this week, we are anticipating that we will be able to release to you the rule set for OPK. We want you to have sort of a sneak peek at it, and there's a feedback form that'll be available to you. We're just trying to sort of ahead of releasing to public comment, we kind of see this as one of our stakeholder engagements with you, is we really ask that you give us some feedback. What have we missed? What seems to be maybe some friction points, or, you know, that's not clear, because we're all going to have to live by these. So we wanted you to sort of have that exclusive release, I guess, and so that we can make sure that when they go to public comment, that we have the best set available, so that we can, you know, hope is to have very few revisions maybe after public comment. So then we will start the notice of rulemaking with the Secretary of State on December 10th, so next week. And then the public comment period will begin January 1st. The public hearing on the rules is yet to be determined, but the date needs to be between January 1st and when the public comment period closes on January 22nd. So we're thinking the tentative date had been January 15th, but it hadn't been secured yet. So once we know that it's confirmed, we will inform you of that public hearing opportunity. And then the rules will be adopted by the council on January 30th. That's our aggressive timeline for rule revisions. This is, I just want to kind of a disclaimer. We are working with DOJ now in regard to this timeline. And so if there is a change to this, I will make sure that you're aware of it. But this is our goal timeline right now.
Great. Ned, I see your hands raised, but I'm going to ask Marcy's question, and then I'll call on you, Ned. Marcy typed in her question. We heard that the hubs are going to be the aggregators for preschool promise money. Is that accurate? Or is there going to be an RFA process or more?
Or more, yes. Great question. There's been a lot of questions about the term aggregator, and we've actually trying to diminish the use of that, because it's actually in legislation in House Bill 2025, it actually calls out fiscal agents, not aggregators. So we're trying to switch over to the term used in the legislation. So I'm going to now just call them fiscal agents. And hubs are one entity that is eligible to be a fiscal agent for preschool promise providers, but there are other agencies as well that can be. And I don't want to misquote them now. It is in the FAQ, but we'll make sure that we kind of pull that up. And then, but we are, our goal with Preschool Promise is that the ELD will be contracting directly with all providers. That is our goal with this kind of Preschool Promise 2.0, and that then providers would indicate if they would like a fiscal agent. And the fiscal agent would then provide services and support preschool promise providers in community, but that the providers are actually the ones who are saying, we would like these type of supports, and that they would be purchasing those supports through that fiscal agent. Fiscal agents would need to go through, if an agency wanted to be a fiscal agent in their community, there would be a separate RFA process for them to be identified and selected as a fiscal agent. So that was a bit confusing, I'm sure. Marcy, Annie, did that help explain it a little bit?
While they think about that,
yeah.
I'll call on Ned. I called up the section in the document that refers to fiscal agent.
Oh,
Ned,
great.
you had a question?
Yes, Denolda had a question, Michael.
I was I was wondering who's eligible to apply for the OPK EHS fund.
Great question. So I'm hearing myself.
Yeah.
So for the Early Head Start funds, it'll be all existing grantees for OPK, so any grantee that has an OPK grant already, or any federal Head Start grantee. So this sort of opens it up to our the tribal nations who might have a Region 11 grant with the feds, and so we are hoping to invite them in, or we will be inviting them in as well. So it's pretty much anyone who has an existing OPK grant or an existing federal Head Start grant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, how's it up in Wilsonville today? Foggy?
Yes, we have all of the directors in a little conference room here. So.
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
LaRue has a question.
This is LaRue.
Okay.
I had a question. The documents that you're showing, where is that document located? That page 5 that's up on the screen right now?
Sure. So that's the FAQ that I referred to earlier. You can get to it at the Early Learning Division website.
Okay.
It's also just a handout for this webinar. So on your list on the right, all your controls, you can see handouts 3 of 5, and the FAQ is one of them. And then way down at the bottom of this document is a link to a form to submit an additional question. So if you've come up with a question later that it doesn't get addressed on this FAQ, feel free to submit that and we'll try to answer it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
And Donalda, if I could ask sort of a follow-up question, just because we're wanting to, if you're able, I'm curious, your question about who can apply for Early Head Start, are you hearing in community, we're trying to make sure that, our reach is beyond our OPK, partners and the Head Start Association around who's eligible for Head Start funding. So is there a certain group that I should be making sure that I reach out to?
Yes, childcare providers. Because when we're doing some of our work and looking at our data, many of our childcare providers are interested, but they are not currently recipients of Head Start Fund.
Got it. Thank you. That's helpful because we are setting up regular meetings with AFSCME, and so we'll make sure that we address that. The Early Head Start childcare partnership model, though, is a model, though, that we will be allowing in our expansion of Early Head Start.
Right. Family childcare is a program model in Head Start, and if you've got people who are interested in doing Early Head Start in your community, that's fantastic.
Yep.
And we would encourage you to develop those partnerships early and often. So great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm not seeing anything else. But again, feel free to ask more questions in the question box. I'm going to move though to Lindsey, who's going to introduce some folks. Isn't that right? And sorry, Gwen, I didn't mean to rip through your slides there.
Oh,
I couldn't remember which one we were doing and not. So
right, but I do want to make sure, since Lindsey has a guest, but an update on Region 10.
Okay.
And so is now the time.
Oh yeah, please.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Michael is a timekeeper here. So, okay.
And I'm sure I'm going to hear about it later.
No. So just wanted to give you a quick update sort of from the collab office, which is our program unit, and that Lindsey, Michael, and I had a meeting this week with our Region 10 TA partners and sort of collaborating on the topics and what is being presented at their March Region 10 TA conference. And so, Michael, if you wanted to give any additional information on that.
Sure, thanks.
If you
yeah, no, as you know, Region 10 is hosting their, I think it's every 2 years, they have a regional conference, and the dates are March 3 through 5. It's on their PD portal, the thing that they say we can't make a website, we make a portal. And we're working with them on participating in some panels and thinking about, how to coordinate our PD planning. I think that we're guardedly optimistic that we're going to have potentially more supports for you all as this expansion and enhancement rolls out. And so we're really thinking about what is the TNTA that we can help coordinate, not necessarily provide directly, but facilitate. More on that later. But so that March 3 through 5, it looks like some or all of us are going to be up there participating in some ways and helping to shape that agenda. So more later, but you'll get most of that from Region 10.
Thanks. And then I think all of you did receive the email that Region 10 sent out that Tadeo is no longer the program manager at Region 10. I have not seen any new information around sort of the transition plan or the coverage, other than that, you know, Kathy is sort of the lead up there at this moment. And then, as you know, and we were able to say goodbye at our last, at your last director's meeting, that Mary Seaton she finished up at the end of this month, at the end of November. So she is no longer there as well. So, but I think all of you are aware of those staffing changes occurring up in Seattle. And the only other sort of collab office update that I wanted to share today, because I know we've got kind of a full schedule, is I'm working with the Office of Child Care continually on the license exempt providers and the health and safety checklist for license exempt providers. So I just want to let you know that continues to move forward. It's a little bit more of a snail's pace right now as we're trying to move all of all the work forward around the new investments that sort of dominated our time. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that some of you will be receiving a letter from the Office of Child Care that speaks about voluntary licensure. One of the bills that came through this last session was, even though we do have some license exempt providers are able to voluntarily be licensed and go through that process, and that would be sort of their choice to do that. So as you know, there are a lot of supports that come with being licensed, and we would encourage that, but we cannot enforce that or anything. It's completely voluntary, but we also know that there are some challenges with being licensed, as we've been working through those as well. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that there will be a letter coming out, and if you have any questions, you can contact myself, and I'm sure that there will be a contact name in the Office of Child Care on that letter.
Great, thank you, Gwen. Okay, so now I think I'm going to move on to Teresa, to Lindsey, who's going to introduce our guest. So take it away, Lindsey. Oh, she might need to be unmuted. Let's make sure she is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, good. I switched over to the phone call too, so that seems to be a little better. Hello, everyone. I apologize for my voice. I am battling a little cold. So as promised, once again, we're going to talk about the Early Education Essentials Survey and the implementation that will start next month. And with us, we have Maribel Centeno, which I have written on this slide. I'm not sure where it went, but she's going to talk with us about the survey implementation and go through that process with us. And then I will be collecting any questions that you guys have, and we'll respond to them after the webinar. She's going to show a PowerPoint for us, which we will have attached. And then again, if you have any other questions, we've got lots of resources that we can send out as you guys prepare. And again, this is OPK only that are going to be implementing this, but we're hoping that this pilot implementation will spark the implementation for the rest of us for next year, as it gives us so much wonderful information. And so I'm going to let Maribel take it away, and Michael's going to give her control.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope that you all can hear me. I can see that my mic is on. Let me share my screen and we can get started. This will be fairly quick because we only have, I know you guys have a packed agenda, so we only have 15 minutes with you all. So it'll be pretty fast, but you all have the handouts in an attachment. And if there are any questions, we'll be circling back with Lindsey. My name is Maribel Centeno. I'm the Director of Practice Development and Improvement for the Elements of Prevention. I also have a colleague of Maureen Wagner Garza. She's our Program Manager for the Early Education Essentials. She will not be joining us today because she's on a honeymoon. And then with me, I have Colette Walton, who's the Director of Partnerships and Growth for UChicago Impact. And they actually will be the folks supporting the implementation and launching the surveys on their end. I know that our partners and ELD have done a fabulous job onboarding you all to the Early Education Essentials, what they are. This process will consist of staff and parent surveys that have been validated as reliable. You will be receiving access to an interactive reports once your survey data is uploaded. And then as part of the process, you will also have access to our toolkit that is in alignment with the Early Ed Essentials. The Early Education Essentials are also in alignment with the Oregon Early Learning Division priorities and goals. Just wanted to point that out.
Maribel, I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you trying to share your screen? Because I don't think we see you yet.
Yeah, I thought I had that there.
Notice you're logged in twice, so I want to make sure we're giving you the right.
Yeah,
I can
see it on my. Yeah, you guys have the PowerPoint also. I'm not sure how I can share on this end. It's showing that I am sharing as a presenter, but yeah, it's not showing up. Oh, show my screen.
There you go.
You got it?
Yep,
all right,
we do. Thank you.
We'll pick it up. All right, perfect. Thank you. So we were at the point of sharing the timeline. This is what the timeline for Oregon will look like. The survey windows will open in January. So you folks will have your parents and staff take the surveys. You will receive reports by May. May through June, you will engage in data use and improvement cycles using our toolkit. And then in June, you'll begin to plan for how you sustain these improvements in this process in the years to come or the following program year. So let's talk a little bit about what survey administration looks like. Your survey window will open on January 13th and run through February 14th. Surveys are administered online by UChicago Impact. A paper survey option will also be available for the parent survey. All survey responses are anonymous. Schools and centers appoint a survey coordinator. Teachers and staff are included in a roster and will receive a unique login to the surveys via email. Teachers and staff across all preschool classrooms are all invited to participate. Parents will not be rostered, so schools and programs or centers will receive a single link where parents will be able to take the survey. So teacher survey administration. We always say at least 50% of all your eligible teachers and staff, and at least 6 staff must complete the survey in order for you all to receive a site level report. However, we say 50%, but we always want to shoot for 100% response rates. So keep that in mind. Messing here with my chart here that is not letting me see the window. Teacher survey administration, who's eligible? All teachers and staff who work with preschool-age children or support their families, regardless of the funding stream. Eligible staff can include lead teachers, assistant teachers, aides, any special education teaching staff, paraprofessionals, any educational support staff that you have that work in your programs. They could be coaches, they could be social workers. However, there's a little caveat with that. If you have support staff, they must be familiar or work at least 50% of their time within that specific center. So you may be wondering how long the surveys take. They take about 20 to 25 minutes to complete the staff survey. So, teacher survey administration, did we just go over this one? Yeah. My screen is frozen, folks. Hello?
Oh, I'm not sure what to tell you there, partner. Maybe you've got the power, so.
I got it, got it. Parent survey administration, again, the response goal here is 25% of all eligible parents or guardians, and at least 15 surveys completed, parent surveys completed in order for you to be able, again, to get that site level report. Who's eligible? All parents or caregivers of preschool-aged children. How long does the survey take for parents? It's a little shorter than the staff survey, so it's about 10 to 15 minutes. The survey, how is the survey accessible? It will be available in English, Spanish, and Arabic. All questions are sort of at or below a 7th grade reading level. We do provide you all with some supports around survey administration. You want to make sure that you have access to internet before you start, that folks try to complete, especially parents, at one sitting. So for parent survey administration on a paper version, the sites, once you have identified your coordinator, who will be taking the charge on the ground for survey administration, the sites or schools or centers will be responsible for printing, storing, and returning the paper survey to the ounce. A printable copy of the early education surveys will be available in English, Spanish, and Arabic. And they will be sent to the site leader or survey coordinators. And we will also include in that a prepaid envelope, so once the survey window closes, your coordinator or site leader is responsible for mailing those paper surveys back to the ounce. So there's a little bit of a responsibility here, which is important for us and for securing that the surveys remain anonymous, is that your survey coordinators are really responsible for securing the paper surveys in a locked cabinet or drawer. They need to ensure that there's no identifying information is attached to the survey responses. They need to maintain an accurate account of the completed surveys. And then, of course, I've said this already, that they need to ensure that once the survey window closes, that we get those surveys back within 3 business days of the survey window closing. For you all, that would be February 19th. We can't stress that enough. Any delays enough getting those paper surveys could also delay us and impacts and for you guys to have availability to your reports. Again, I said this earlier, we don't just want to go through a survey administration and have you all just take the surveys. We want to make sure that we set you all up for success. So we do provide some tools and job aids that will help you really launch this and champion the surveys on the ground. So you will have access to a survey administration manual. We have customizable, customizable, I can't pronounce that, customized promotional flyers that you all can customize for your local sites or schools or programs. We have also customized email templates for you to be able to email your staff. All you need to do is plug in your center or school's information. We will also have for directors an orientation PowerPoint that you will be able to access to deliver this sort of similar orientation that we're doing with you all today to your staff at the local level. And then, of course, you'll have access to the data use and improvement tools. So again, I can't stress this enough. We want to make sure that we have a successful launch of this and that you're actively getting strong survey responses. So we want to make sure that you provide designated time for teachers and staff to complete the surveys. You can do it at a standing meeting. You can do it, you know, do pull-outs. You can have floaters that will come into the classrooms, and you can do pull-outs for staff. Again, with parent surveys, you might want to just think about this as the same way we think about recruitment, is widely advertised through multiple formats. We provide you with the flyers, families of support staff, classroom staff. You know, this is a whole center, whole school initiative. So the more we can get staff on board and parents on board and support staff, the greater your response rates will be, the better data you will have on these 6 essentials. Just want to share a little bit of what the online interactive reports look like. So all the site directors, as well as our partners in ELD, will have access to the site so they could see the reports. I just want to share also, we don't have a slide on this yet, but once the survey window opens, all of the directors will have access to the dashboard where they can track their response rate in real time. And we'll talk with Lindsey about how we can share that with you all and walk you through that dashboard. We talked a little bit about the Data Use and Improvement Toolkit. Again, along with the data, you'll have a toolkit that will walk you through 5 working sessions that you will then replicate with your staff on site. So the first working session is just for all of the directors that are on this call, and that will be facilitated by someone, I'm assuming, at the ELD office. And the goal here is that then the directors go back and they replicate that process with staff. The second, that will be the staff reflection and data dialogue. The third working session is a root cause analysis and rapid cycle improvement. Again, we just wanted to put the brakes on data dialogues and say, you know what, we don't want people to jump to solutionitis. We want people to sort of like take a step back and sort of like peel the layers of the onion and try and get at what are some of these causes in areas of weakness that we're seeing in some of these early education essentials data. The goal here is to repeat those cycles of improvement, or what we call PDSAs, over 30 days through the course of the program year. And at the end of the program year, we have one last working session, which is celebrations and planning for what happens next. And that's sort of thinking about all the progress you've made over the course of a year, and then connecting that back to the next level of leadership, so that you can begin to think about how do you sustain this way of working, and any improvements that you've had as part of participating in this improvement journey with the Early Education Essentials data. That's all I have, folks. As I said, you have a copy of the PowerPoint. Feel free to email us at the emails provided. My colleague she's probably on the phone, but not sure if she's can hear this, Colette. She'll be with us through the journey and with our partners at ELD, supporting the survey, the launch of the survey window open, closing, and survey reports. Thank you all for giving us the time on your meeting.
Maribel, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Just
no problem. Thank you.
For questions, really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, seeing no questions, then I'm gonna continue on with Lindsey, who's graciously presenting today, even though she's really not feeling that good, although she's such a great colleague, she doesn't make that a big thing. But Lindsey, some thoughts here?
Yeah, Thank you, Maribel. I'm so excited about the information and the process of this, and I'm really excited to help to be the one that's going to kind of help that data process and the problem solving process. So thank you so much. And then moving on.
Welcome.
So Gwen was thank you. Gwen was talking about a guidance document, and I had sent out a guidance document that I have been creating for Early Head Start out to 6 programs, 3 with long-standing Early Head Start programs and 3 without any Early Head Start at all. And I've received some wonderful feedback, so I really want to say thank you to the folks who've taken the time to look at that document and to let me know how you're feeling about its purpose and how you might use it. If anyone is interested in providing feedback or looking at that document, I'm more than happy to send it to everyone. I just really wanted to respect your time. So if you're interested, please send me an email and I can send you the link. You're welcome to make comments and edits as you see fit. It's a Google document. And then Michael has supported me in coming up with a poll. I don't know how these things work, but it's like magic. I'm wondering, Pam and another program had brought up that Region 10 in the past had not required, but strongly suggested possibly using an Early Head Start planning consultant. And I was just wondering how you guys felt about that, if this is somebody that you would be interested in talking with, if you would be interested in using or accessing at some point, specifically if you're implementing new Early Head Start services. And so if you guys would take a second, please just mark your selection here. And then that'll give me a good idea on something I may add to that recommendation report. Also, if you guys have any questions, now would be a fine time to ask them. Right in the middle. This is great. Thank you so much for participating in that, everyone. I'm really grateful for this information. And then, so that's all I've got for today, I think. I'll continue to look at this information, and then I'll look for your emails if you guys have questions. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Lindsey. Appreciate it. We're going to go backwards in slide lands for a little check-in with Teresa.
Wow, Michael, thank you. I didn't know you had a trumpet over there. Hi, everyone. I don't see my slide up, Michael, but it's okay because it's a pretty basic slide. Really what I want to do is check in with everyone regarding monthly reports, because we did do a little bit of change, and I know there's been some confusion and need for clarification around the way we are asking for slot information this year, regarding both the fact that we're asking for part day and extended duration, plus we're asking for state and federal funding, which we've always asked separated out, but with the additional categories, it gets a little confusing. And while I don't know that I can answer all of the details of some of the questions here, what I would like to invite you to do is provide feedback, especially in your monthly report comments areas, or get a hold of me as you're doing your monthly report to get any clarification you need. For the most part, it's all going really well, but I am noticing some definite confusion that I want to help address. And then we'll start to put some of that into the monthly report in the instructions to help make it even clearer. With expenditure reports, we've only got a few in, but they aren't due yet. So I just want to let everyone know that I am available there for questions and clarifications as well. But we are starting to look at that first quarter being due. So I'm in the office a lot. Let me know if you want to set aside some time to walk through it. And that is all I have right now, because everything else is about Student Success Act these days. So thanks.
Great. Thank you, Teresa. Much appreciated. I am going to slide down to my part. I wanted to check in with you all about the final report on extended duration, as well as a new resource. And so I'm not going to show all of the slides for the duration report. They are included as a handout. So having said that, I will now show you some stuff. So, yeah. There we go. So, as you know, I'll make sure I can see the right thing here. Yeah. So last year we piloted extended duration because we'd never done it before, and we partnered with Western Oregon University, the Research Institute there, TRI, the Research Institute, and they did some evaluating and some TNTA consulting with people who were implementing extended duration. We had a nice variety of participants from all over the state. TRI was involved in a variety of tasks, including doing class observations and finding out what teachers and family parents thought about extended duration, as well as looking at outcomes. So what was the teaching and learning like in our extended duration classrooms? They completed a bunch of activities. One of the things we didn't want to do was just say, go do this and we'll find out at the end how it happened, how it turned out. So instead we had quarterly meetings with all of the participants. Often they were general, but sometimes there were specific activities around budgets or around teaching and learning and so forth. They also did some analysis of how teachers assess the kids in extended duration, and like I said, they did class observations as well as the surveys of teachers and family members. We found some interesting stuff. We found that AM class scores were higher. Just as a point of pride, I think we're the first researchers team to really look at that question. Here we are doing all this extended duration, and as far as we can tell, nobody's really asked the question, well, how is the teaching and learning in the afternoon compared to the morning? We found that family members, parents were in general quite stoked about having more extended duration. And we found a nice connection between, big surprise, better teaching results in higher gains for kids. This last point is very interesting. We're really curious about that. Teachers said, I don't have enough time to do my job in general, while their supervisors said, yeah, they have enough time. So we're wondering about that. Our teachers, do they have they need help prioritizing? Do administrators not understand what's involved? We're not sure. We're curious, but cool. Facilities make a really big difference. So programs that were able to devote some time and planning and had the resources to provide experiences and space for kids to explore. When kids got bored of the same place or the facility really wasn't set up, we found that really impacted the quality. So there's that. As I mentioned before, parents were very positive about extended duration, and these findings really helped inform ELD's request to the legislature for funds to expand our extended duration services. We were able to present information that said, look, we really know what our parents want. We're not just imagining it. Parents felt that their kids learn more during extended duration. I think overall nationally and within this study, we've seen mixed results. That is, just because you do it longer doesn't mean that kids learn more, but we can say tentatively, based on a fairly small sample, that in classrooms where teacher interactions were of higher quality, in general, we saw kids learning more. So more is not necessarily better, but more better is better. as the kids say. We had, between instructional leaders and teachers, there was strong opinion that, that kids benefited from extended duration, although teachers slightly less so. So we're wondering about that. Yeah. And so just to dig in a little bit with the class scores, the fall is brown because the leaves are brown. All the leaves are brown and the sky is gray. And winter there, so you can see of the 3 domains, in general, our teachers did better as the year progressed. So that's great. Our teachers are learning and developing as the year progresses. And the black is national, so just as a comparator. And then this is the AMPM that's interesting. On the left side, the first 3 are fall, winter, spring in the morning. And on the right side, within each domain, it's fall, winter, spring in the afternoon. So you can see improvement in both morning and afternoon as the year progresses. And then also you see how the afternoon is not quite as good as the morning, or in the case of classroom organization and instructional support, quite a bit not as good. So we're curious about that, and we're wondering what we can do to support teachers in the afternoon, particularly to find out where teachers are bucking the trend, where they're not following the trend. How are they able to provide high quality teacher interactions in the afternoon? So morning, blah, blah, we've seen that before. So then we saw a positive correlation between class scores and child growth. So that's good to hear, because we believe that good teaching, ambitious instruction is highly connected with kids' outcomes. That's great. And this, our project reinforces that. There's a reason we're emphasizing high quality teacher interactions in our classrooms. There's a reason we're conducting a lot of class observations and requesting your class data and thinking about the PD and technical assistance that we can provide and doing the ambitious instruction project. We're interested in improving teaching and learning in our classrooms, and this project that we did with extended duration helps us feel confident that we're on the right track. Class is not, doesn't tell us everything, but it tells us some important things. So the researchers developed some recommendations around staffing, around providing appropriate supports for teachers. They really emphasize PD for teachers and how programs might think about sort of key areas of the class to focus on. These recommendations, I'm excited to say, we are rolling up into some guidance for programs about how to implement extended duration effectively. And we're also considering working with TRI to provide some TNTA and some consulting with you as you're getting ready to implement extended duration. So that TNTA and consulting could be around everything from developing your application to your planning to implementation and problem solving in the fall. So as I say next steps, the first one is a definite, and the second one is a consideration. So it's time for a poll. You're right, it is time for a poll. And so the first, we want to check in with you about our ideas. So the first poll has to do with the first thing, which is, should we be developing this guidance for programs on how to implement effective extended duration based on the findings of our project? That's our first question for you. Give you a few seconds to answer. And great. And great. So sharing the poll results, you can see that there's some strong feelings in the middle and some encouragement, and then some folks think it's a bad idea. So I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but if you think us developing guidance on how to effectively implement extended duration is not a good idea, I would like to know why. I say that collegially, but we're interested in doing this. So if you think it's not a good idea for us to develop guidance, I would like to know about that. Oh, I have a hand raiser. That's always a good sign. Let's see if I can figure out who that is. Kim. Comments, Kim?
Oh, no, I was just saying I accidentally clicked the wrong box. I think it's a fantastic.
You'd like to revise your testimony.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Okay, that's good. So, I mean, you know, people might think it's a bad idea. That's fine. I would just be curious why. Okay, awesome. Joyce, you had a comment?
Yes, I clicked the wrong box as well.
All right. It's a good thing we're not doing our taxes.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for those clarifications. I appreciate it. Great. I've got one more poll for you then, by golly, and that is coming up right now. So this comes to this question around potentially extending our agreement with TRI so that they would provide training, technical assistance, maybe some consulting around implementing effective extended duration. Feel free to read the questions carefully so you click the right button, just a friendly reminder. And here's that poll. The first one is a no, bad idea. You see how that works? Okay, the voting is closing now, and the results are in. A few neutrals and some mostly positives. That's good to hear. This is all tentative, but what we're thinking about is, you know, developing the guidance is one thing, but helping people to access it and make sense of it is another. So we think about the OHSA calendar and the ways they might come and work with you all on sort of making sense of the guidance documents that we put out, whether it's a document or a web page or something. And then we think about maybe, you know, we might put together a webinar with your finance people as you think about how to finance, what to do with your finances around extended duration, or working with ed coordinators around staffing models, and especially around, you know, if we know that teaching and learning, there's differences with extended duration compared with half day, and people haven't done it very much or would like to do it better. Are there ways that we could provide some guidance to folks like ed coordinators and coaches? We are really thinking a lot about how to support coaches going in the coming period. The specialist conference, we're working on some plans there. So this is great to hear that you're interested. None of this has been approved yet. We're just trying to think about how to learn from this project. We're really excited about moving so much of our OPK program to extended duration. We know that families appreciate it. We think that done well, kids can appreciate, you know, benefit from it. So that's great. Got some more hands here. No, I don't. I've got some questions though.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure we.
Yeah.
Looks like there were a few that. There was one for the Early Head Start consultant from Darcy around if the ELD.
Yes, that's that. I appreciate that, Darcy. We're talking about, we're looking into whether we would extend their agreement, TRI's agreement, to provide some consulting based on the consulting based on the guidance they're going to develop. So this is not a charge. It's just we're just thinking about it. So appreciate the chance to think about it with you. I'm sure, like you have lots of things that you know you're going to do, and then some stuff you're thinking about doing. And this is a group that we try to talk about what we're thinking about, knowing that plans may change. Pam has a question. I see 3 handouts, but 5 have been referenced. I'm not sure. So the things that we've referenced in this conversation, Pam, the Student Success Act FAQ is there, FAQ. The survey from EEE is there, the slides, I wrote that, and then the final report slides for the extended duration. That's what I have for you all this time. So if you're missing something, let me know, and we'll try to get that to you Sui, I saw your comment, and I just wanted to invite you to say something about that. So I'm going to find you and unmute you if I can. Oh, she's got the audio pin. So Sui writes in the text box, we did our own pilot and are in year 2, and we found similar outcomes. I strongly encourage the guidance. Well, that's good to hear. We're definitely moving forward to that and hoping to have that for you as soon as we can. So thank you for your time on that. I think that brings me, oh, I did have one resource that I mentioned. So community assessment, there's a new resource out from Head Start around community assessments and sharing the poll results, right? I got to get rid of the poll. Go away, big green monster. Come on, poll, go away. Did I do it? No, I don't know. Frassum. Now I'm getting a frozen screen. Great. Okay, I think I got it. So there's a new resource for planning and community assessments. And I just want you all to think about the fact that as you develop your applications for expansion and enhancements, we always emphasize the importance of community assessment, but now more than ever, what your community says they need is really important. That you're going to be invited to show a strong connection between the proposals you're making and what you found out about what your community needs. And that applies to whether you want more extended duration, whether you want more transportation, or that is funds for transportation, whether you want Oregon Early Head Start funds. We are going to really invite you to do that. And so this resource for planning, I'll show it to you briefly. Oh, come on. Here's the document from, my computer is not happy with me, so that's partially what's happening here. It's very exciting. Let's try that. Wow. We're going to edit this part out of the recording, so don't worry. I'm trying to, anyway, in the slides, there sure is a link. By golly, I don't know. I push play and it doesn't happen. So, darn it. Anyway. I don't think I can. Yeah, it's just on the slides. I don't know why it doesn't like me. It's decided that I'm not the one. Anyway, the slides are in the usual place. There is a webinar that happened on November 18th, new topic, from the folks at the Pyramid Model around reducing suspensions, always a concern, always something that you all are working on, I know. And that webinar has a recording, so if you're looking at a possible place for your ed component to take a look at strategies to reduce suspension and expulsion, that webinar is linked in the slides as well. Having said all that, it feels like the GoToWebinar universe is telling us to wrap it up. So I want to just pause and see if there's any other question. Looks like been a few. Yes, thank you, Sui. Appreciate that. Yeah, so that's a good point, Sui. The link I'll provide in the question box. I think I can do that. There we go. All right, so not seeing any other questions. Our next meetings is a virtual meeting. Our next meeting is a virtual meeting, and that is, if I can get all of the, it's on January 8th. That's Elvis's birthday for those of you scoring at home. It's a webinar. It'll be right here. By then, you'll have seen rules. We'll have discussions of the RFA. Oh, it's going to be a great meeting. Here, Wednesday the 8th at 9 a.m. And then we'll be meeting in Salem on February 5 through 7 for the OHSA Winter Conference. So January 8th, right here, same time, same place. I'll stop there, declare victory, keep those cards and letters coming in, send a question in on the FAQ if you've got questions about expansion and enhancements. Otherwise, be well, be in touch. See you on January 8th.
Thanks, everyone.